Hey, what's up you guys? It's Six. Welcome back to my channel. So today's video is a bit of an interesting one because I don't necessarily have a set topic for this video. So I'm kind of just chilling and doing my own thing, as the title says. So initially I'd planned for this video to be like a palette challenge. You'll see the palette come on later in this video, but initially I'd planned to do this as a palette challenge and work only with the palette, and the reason that I ended up not doing that is because I had so much trouble coming up with an initial sketch, working like with the palette, you know, to make things look interesting, make sure everything suited each other, that eventually I was like, I'm gonna use the palette as more of like an accent to add interest to the piece, and then I'm gonna try to work on that old painting style that I have been trying to do. As you guys saw, I still definitely have some work to do in regards to making that method work into, you know, having more fun with working in this style, making it more natural, but this piece was definitely a lot easier than the one that I did last week, where I'd actually done line art in between. I actually just stuck with this loose kind of sketch and then painted over, and it was definitely a lot more familiar. It just was slower because I have been having trouble with anatomy and stuff lately. I've been getting really stuck just going directly into drawing things rather than putting down my my guidelines, which I really need to do. It's a bad habit that I've formed, so things tend to not be as correct when I'm working on illustrations and sketches and stuff like that. And I think the reason that I've been doing that is because I've been really trying to rush through the sketching phase for pretty much every piece, and I think the reasoning for that is I get so insecure in the sketch phase. I have been doing this thing where I'll start drawing and then I'll go, this isn't dynamic enough, this isn't interesting enough, this isn't unique enough, this isn't different, it's not different enough, people aren't gonna like it, which is so silly of me. It really is. It's so silly. Not everything has to be like the most craziest, dynamicest bust in the world. Like, I can just draw to draw because it's something that I love, and I really need to fall back into that, especially if no one is complaining about my work. Not my clients, not people on, you know, social media. Nobody's sitting down and saying, hey, all of your stuff looks the same. It's just me saying that. Only I am sitting down and criticizing my work that way. So I really need to kind of put my brain back in perspective and be like, if people like the work that I enjoy creating, then that's the work that I need to make. And maybe people aren't saying that because I've been forcing myself to be more dynamic lately, but even back then when I wasn't forcing myself to do that, people weren't saying that. So I just need to screw my head back on and get my brain out of whatever funk that I have placed myself in, because when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, people enjoy my work no matter I, you know, do what I'm comfortable doing or if I force myself to go outside of that. People like it either way. So if I have times where I just want to paint something simple or sketch something simple, then I need to allow myself to do that. I really do. So I've been working on that, and today was definitely one of those days where I had so much trouble sketching. I spent a long time on Pinterest before I was like, none of these are sparking any, like, I don't want to say they're not sparking any interest, it's just to my brain, the combinations of things, the references that I was pulling, I was like, it's just gonna end up looking the same anyway, so I might as well not bother, I might as well do this and this and that, you know? So I just ended up going, you know what, silly thing, why don't you just do something for fun for once? Why don't you just throw a sketch down and not worry about whether or not it's interesting? And, you know, this is a palette challenge. Why don't you just let the colors be interesting? Why don't you do that? Why don't you just throw something down, add some interesting color, and call it a day, and work on that little painterly style that we've been trying to do. So I eventually settled and was like, okay, I can just do a sketch. I can just sketch, and that's fine. So I made something really, really loose. Definitely not super hyper interesting, as you guys can tell, but I really like it. I think it's a really like calming, nice kind of vibe. I wanted to go for something that was really, I don't want to say ethereal, because I don't know if I really captured that in the end, but at least like serene, like just like an easiness about it, like a really like softness, because the palette that ends up coming up at the end is something that reminds me of stuff like that. It's very it's a lot of purples and greens, so it's very like floral, just definitely had some like calming vibes to it, so I wanted to bring that in with the expression as well, and I really did end up liking this piece. I don't know if I already talked about it, because this is the third time I'm doing this voiceover, but the painting process for this piece was actually so much easier than it was last week. Last week I did line art, and I really struggled to make it, because I had line art, the final result didn't look much different than when I would normally just paint under my line art, but this time, because I started with something really loose and was able to come through and paint in the finer details and stuff later, I feel like there is definitely a lot more of a difference between the sketch and the final illustration, and also I just think it turned out really pretty, and the painting process overall was super easy. Like I said, the line art, no problem, I didn't have to do that. So the painting portion, super smooth. The only time that I really struggled with the actual painting was, like I said, I've been struggling with anatomy a little bit, so I had to use the liquify tool a lot more than I would have liked to. I definitely struggled with the eye, as you guys definitely saw. They don't match. they don't match at all, but that's fine. That's something that I had to learn to just let go throughout the illustration process. Eventually I was like, you know what, it's fine that they don't match. It's fine that it looks a little goofy, silly. It could look worse, so I let that go. And then my biggest struggle actually was the hair. So you guys saw she actually had way more of it when starting this illustration. But when it came to finally start painting her hair, I was actually really sick this day. I was super just not feeling well at all. And by the time I got to her hair, I was like, there's so much of it. She's all hair. Not anymore. I cut it in half, and I just started rendering, and the thing about the hair is it's so different, it's so weird. I haven't grasped how to paint hair in Procreate this way yet. I know how to do it with line art fine, but when the line art disappears, I get scared. I get nervous. I don't want to do it anymore. And also, for some reason, when I'm doing this style, I don't end up using the smudge tool as much, which is so weird to me. I don't know why I do that, because I use it a ton when I'm doing it underneath line art. But for some reason, when it's all on one layer, it looks weird. It looks strange to me. So I have to not use the smudge tool in the hair, which is strange, because then I don't know, there's like a weird, like, I have trouble defining all of like the strands, and I definitely am not trying to draw every single strand, obviously. I'm talking about like the chunks of, like, big chunks of I don't know how to refer to it anything other than strands, big portions of hair, defining it and making sure that there's, how do I I've said define so many times, but making sure the hair has definition. You know, that there's the areas of shadow and light and, you know, your mid-tone and stuff like that. For some reason, I'm struggling with it. I don't know why. Probably because I mostly use the smudge tool when it comes to painting hair. So if I'm not using it, then things look weird, things look strange. So I need to work on painting hair for this technique, because in last week's video I definitely struggled with it, and I'm still struggling with it for this week for sure. But ultimately I still like how it turned out. I still think she looks really pretty. Ironically, she was giving me like Simon from Lord of the Flies vibes, like how I used to draw him back when I first started my Instagram account, ironically, making illustrations and stuff like that. So that was kind of nostalgic to go back to, on top of this painterly style that I am definitely not used to doing anymore. It definitely was more my work from literally like, when did I start doing that? Probably 2013 to like 2017 era, 6, definitely all this painterly stuff, and I miss it. I've been clawing to get back to it, because again, like I said last week, the reason that I stopped wasn't because I didn't like the style anymore. It was because I switched from working with a tablet on desktop, Paint Tool Sci, over to Procreate and iPad, and I just never found the right combination of brushes and things to make that style work. But now I think that I've got my kind of set brushes, and I know how Procreate works as a program a little bit more. I'm yawning because it's 6 in the morning. And I'm definitely kind of falling back into knowing how to use that style again. I'm just kind of tuning out I don't know. I'm working on the finer details, definitely trying to figure out how to make it more natural, but this was definitely a lot easier than it was last week, so it's fun to come back to it. By this point now, you're definitely seeing me adding in the details for the palette. Something that was super fun about this piece was adding in the highlights, because that is primarily where I included elements of the palette, and just mixing together all of the different purples and you know, flecks of green here and there around the edges of things. I really feel like it made it pop in a very nice way. I thought it looked really pretty, especially on her lips. You'll see me do those, and her nose. Just adding in all of the different color shifts was so fun. It was like if she used like a highlighter that was like iridescent or something. I don't know. I just think it's so freaking cute, and I love the color shifts. Like I wouldn't have thought to do that if I wasn't, you know, thinking of working with a palette. And then her hair too, I threw some in there, and I thought those added some really nice pops of color, a lot of nice areas of interest that I think turned out really pretty, and definitely drew the piece together. The only thing I think I would change is I wish I would have kept her long hair, but like honestly, I was ill. I wasn't gonna do that to myself, and I'm still ultimately really happy with the piece. Also, you guys will probably see me pop in this like a large area of highlight here pretty soon. I don't know if that's interesting or not. It was the idea I had as soon as I finished the initial sketch. I was like, I should add like this big block of like a golden highlight on the edge. And is that pretty? I don't know. Is that interesting? I don't know. So let me know what you guys think. But other than that, I want to give a huge shout out to my patrons. Elise Thompson, Duran, Mandy, Sleeps, Created by Twins, Inky Moo Art, Psychwalker Art, Lucian at Crowboy Sketch, Fish Nor Flesh, Becky Scribbles, Akita Kai, and Watery Turd. You guys are the best. I seriously would not be able to make this channel function without you guys. I really, really appreciate everything that y'all do for me. If you want to be a patron, if you want early access to speed paints, exclusive merch drops, as well as podcasts and extra speed paints, all this other stuff. There's so many things that I put over on that Patreon. So if you want to check that out, that is patreon.com/six.studios. I really appreciate it if you give it a look. Other than that, love you guys. Let me know what you guys want to see on the channel next. I am committed to making myself post every Saturday. It has been so refreshing to actually get through an entire month of posting, whether or not some of these videos were totally scrambled or not. It was still really fun to be able to actually upload every single week. So if you guys want to see a certain thing happen on this channel, whether that's an art challenge or a vlog or something, let me know, and I will definitely try to get a video like that out for you guys. Anyway, I love you guys so much, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.